If you're just tuning in, Ava and Kimberly are exploring different settings authors use in their stories. You'll soon be on the edge of your seat as Ava realizes settings' roles in realistic fiction. Authors have to make sure that the facts and details about their settings are accurate, because they're about places we can visit, and the stories occur in the time period in which we live. Since we're so familiar with them, authors have to get it right for us to believe the story. Remember that you can familiarize yourself with this type of story by watching realistic fiction, jumping into genre. Don't forget to view Setting the Stage, and then ready for the sounds of the city as you enter the Big Apple in this episode of Thinking Aloud. Let's rejoin Ava and Kimberly as they explore the Writer's Workshop website.
Just select the one you're interested in.
Oh, I don't know. How about the beat of the street? It is a hot July evening in New York City's Times Square. Electronic billboards called spectaculars cast a shifting neon glow over people spilling out into the sidewalks. Overhead, massive buildings compete with each other to hold up a still, wide-awake twilight sky.
The author does a great job describing the setting, the place and time in which the story occurs, don't you think?
Definitely.
When you read the first sentence and it said July evening, it helped me to understand the month and the time of day the story is taking place. I also know the place is New York City's Times Square. I don't see any other reference to time, but I do notice a clue that the author provides that helps me understand this passage is set in the present. I know that when verbs such as is, cast, spilling, and compete are written in the present tense, they signal that the action is occurring now. Miss Healy, our Writer's Workshop instructor, taught us that authors often use sensory words to make their settings more clear. Sometimes they describe what a setting looks like, so it can be visualized in readers' minds. When you read electronic billboards and neon glow, I thought about the bright LED billboards I've seen in my city. The words massive buildings reminded me of some of the tall skyscrapers I've seen in large cities. The author's use of the words twilight sky helped me understand that the time must be in the early evening, just as it becomes dusk. The additional detail helped me refine my thinking.
I'm getting the picture. How else does the author describe New York City?
Sounds thicken the sticky air in this giant city theme park. Languages from every pocket of the world rise up from the steady push of tourists. On the gritty streets, honking horns pierce the solid rumble of trains coming in and going out. Street musicians tap their toes, drumming and strumming their songs on the corners.
I can hear it now.
Sometimes authors describe what a setting sounds like so we can hear what's happening. At the beginning of the paragraph, when I read sounds thicken the sticky air in this giant city theme park, I'm thinking that the author is comparing the sounds of the city to those I'd hear at a theme park. Theme parks, like cities, are busy places with many interesting sounds.
I love theme parks, but they are noisy.
As I continue reading, I understand what these sounds are. Foreign languages, honking horns, rumbling trains, tapping feet, drumming and strumming of songs. These descriptions, along with the words, sounds thicken the sticky air, help me to understand that you can hear all of this at the same time in Times Square. You know, it's kind of like using sound effects to enhance the scenes they'll play.
What else did you notice?
I've also learned that authors describe what a setting feels like. As I read, I try to compare the words that the author uses to things I have experienced and felt, in order to better understand the author's message. When I read the word sticky, I'm thinking of how I feel when there is a lot of humidity in the air. I feel the sand and debris underneath my feet when I read gritty streets. I experience the vibrations of the trains when I read the word rumble.
Oh yeah, I get the feeling this has a good ending.
At every turn, Times Square invites its visitors to join in. Eat at our restaurants, it calls out. Applaud in our theaters. Dance to our music. Shop in our stores. And whatever you do, remember your visit to this one pulsing snapshot of New York City.
The way the author describes it, I really want to take a trip there.
That's because he's describing the details of the businesses and cultural activities available to the visitors. The author establishes an exciting mood by using the active form of action verbs. Words like invites, eat, calls, applaud, dance, and shop make me want to do something. When I read the word pulsing, I get the feeling that New York's Times Square is a busy and fast-paced place to be.
It would be a fun city to visit. But is it the right setting for my play?
Kimberly and Ava are playing leading roles as setting experts. Skillful authors use sensory words to describe what their settings look, sound, and feel like, as well as establishing the mood through use of verbs. These authors know that the time and place of the story can influence the rest of the piece. Choosing a setting is an important step in the writing process. Don't take an intermission yet. View the other 2 setting videos to help Ava find a setting for her play. Put together pyramids in ancient Egypt by viewing the land of the pharaohs, or submerge yourself in an underwater world by watching The Deep, Deep World to continue learning how authors describe settings in the past and future. Cast yourself as a knowledge seeker and keep thinking aloud.